Right, can the people at the back come and join us? Right, thank you for staying for the second half. First of all, we just want a bit of feedback about what you've just seen. Any thoughts, comments, or what have you? So we'll take those, and then we're just going to talk to you a little bit about the men's project. And Will and Bob are going to perform the first two about hymns. So, but yeah, before we forget it, and whilst it's still fresh, any comments at all? We have some of the performers here, and you can ask any of them a question, or say whatever you want to. Yes. Any?
It just brought loads of memories back as me as a woman growing up from a very young age, about my mother, growing up through school, college, beginning to work, getting married, having children, and now they're all leaving home. Well, two have left home, and doing the jobs that they want to do. And now my youngest, he's off to uni in September. He's got ADHD and autism, so I had to homeschool him from the age of 8 to 17. So that, to me, is an achievement. That was done. And so my next part of my life starts when he goes to uni. So I'm building up my own business now. So yes.
And I do want to say, Alex, could you just stand up for a minute?
Oh no, I don't want to.
Just so people. This is Alex, and on Thursday night.
McCarty.
Yes. That sounds ominous. Is
Because I hear your name around well-being and all of this.
Yes.
Yes.
So I qualified as a counsellor in 2024. But I had a mental health breakdown at the beginning of January 2025, so I couldn't do my counselling. I did 4 weeks at bereavement counselling for Lakelands, and then I got poorly. So I now work with Spring as a facilitator, and I do well-being through creative crafts and crochet. But then there was a need for women's well-being, and it was all over Facebook, and I went, I can do this, I'll do this. So I set up an evening one once a week. Yeah. So we've decided to change the name. It was Well-Being, but I want to keep it as its own social enterprise, so I can get funding for it, so we can find a better place to have it, because the men's club is not the best place to have a women's club.
I'm going to stop you right there. There are buckets around. And any donations that you've put in tonight, we're going to give to Alex.
Which he told me in the car on the way home on Thursday.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing, because we used to have the Women's Centre. Hands up if you were involved in the Women's Centre. Yes. There is no Women's Centre anymore.
See, the thing
we've
is,
all done it, but we need something again.
My mum
Alex
was involved with the Women's Centre, Dorking Walk, the Safe Haven, and stuff, so it's kind of come round again.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, Paula, that the things we used to have in the community. I mean, I done a calendar, and we've done all the people that, like, mental health, like Alzheimer's groups, everything, and it was local. So you could pick up the phone, you could go to some, I mean, I know everybody's on Facebook and this, but it was a personal thing. You knew the people in the community, you trusted them. When I was a youth worker and I was getting funded for Big Lottery funding, and I was helping the community, and an old woman came up and says to me, my grandson's on drugs. And I was a youth worker at the time, says, right, well, you can go to Mind, you can send people to things.
Yeah.
If you don't know they're there, how can we use them?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
and a lot of people don't use technology and things like that. You still need something, I think.
We do, and Alex's seed that she has sown is going to grow, and I went to meet them on Thursday night. Stand up if you're in that group.
Catherine.
Okay, so, and they came along tonight to listen. We actually read something.
We read the house
night.
Yeah, it was hilarious listening back to them.
So I think that actually we could give that money to anything and anybody, but why not invest in the community, in somebody that's got a vision for making safe space for women?
You're amazing. And it was going to be the Sunflower Circle, but there's a reason behind it. So instead, I put me time and I put Corby Women's Wellbeing Group underneath, and it's in a ring of sunflowers. The reason being is in the daytime, the sunflowers look at the sun and get everything that they need. And then in the evening, when it's all dark, they turn around to each other in a circle for companionship. So that's what I've done.
Oh, there you go. Are we happy to give any donations to that?
No, I want the money back.
Okay, any other comments from the audience about anything that they've seen? Yes, Larissa.
Do you have any plans to maybe some more
Well,
maybe like a wider presence on site, Corby, because I'm the only person in Corby, but Corby has got a big place in my life.
yeah.
So perhaps I could amplify with my, like, you know, my story, why I'm playing violin, it's a very funny story. So
Yeah.
we could bring that up.
I think if this works, I mean, I don't know if it works. This is the third time we've done About Her. The first time we did it was a play reading at the upstairs in the Labour Club, but we didn't actually dramatise it. Or I'm sorry I will now apologise, but I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. They were just meant to be sitting in a circle and you lot were going to come and join in. That's how it was meant to be, but we decided, you know, I mean, what would you do if you discovered all this talent? You've got to do something with it, haven't you?
I think if you had real wine, some of us would have actually.
Actually, we thought someone did have real wine. No, we were told not to. Anyway, so yeah, any other thoughts about tonight?
It actually really reminded me, I lived on Stuart Road, I'm a proper Corby girl, I had kids very young, and I moved into a house on Stuart Road and all the neighbours had kids. And we were all Scottish or English or Irish or Corby. You know. And I swear to God, when you were gathering, let's go to my house and have a cup of tea, I thought that is Stuart Road. We spent our entire life, no house was ever empty of all women. There was always 3 houses empty and everybody was in one house. And all the kids were in the garden and it just, you've got it down to a T.
Any other bits of recognition for anybody else there?
As I said, the Brigstock camp was my recognition because it belonged to my husband's great-great-grandparents. They ran it in the beginning, so it was quite funny really to hear it again.
For people outside Corby that don't know, Brigstock camp was where the displaced people after the Second World War they were sent, which is why we've always had Serbian, Latvian, Polish communities here because they were there up at the Brigstock camp. And here we have somebody whose great-grandparents ran it.
Well, my husband's
Your husband's
great-grandparents.
I mean, that's nuts. That is.
It is, isn't it?
It is, yes. And can I ask, was anybody really aware that we had so many different nationalities?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
When we were younger, we weren't. We would just go to school in
We
our
didn't
community.
think, did we?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to acknowledge Leona and Indu, that's your character name, Gertrude. We stayed late last night to do that, and it was quite tricky, I have to say. Gaida, Jesus, what's your real name?
Evita.
Evita did the printing, and we actually missed the English flag.
Don't blame me.
Yes, missing. I've already had a hassle for it. I've actually been, told off. Also, we missed the Welsh flag. And the reason the Welsh flag was in there
was because the character I was playing, her husband was Welsh, very strong Welsh. So
Yeah.
Wally
Jones used to play violin and look there. Anybody know Wally? Well, this was Pat Jones, his wife. That's who Pauline was playing. Also, I'd like to say we have got some people in the audience who were being performed tonight. So I really would like to welcome, particularly Doreen and Keita. Thank you for coming. It's really lovely that you came. Some of the others have gone that were acknowledged in there. Anybody else that I can say? Because if not, I'm going to go on to the men. Yeah. Right then. So up you get, Will. Jimmy, come and sit in the front row. What are you doing there? So on International Men's Day, I wrote a post because I thought, I know I'm going to get it in the neck because everybody says, Paula, you're a lesbian, you're always doing stuff about women.
Yeah.
So women, 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 women. So I went, thank you, men. Thank you, Andy, for all the times you've turned up and done the videoing. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Will. Thank you, all these men that do stuff for me. And quite a few of them got in touch and said, thank you, that really meant something.
Yeah.
And Kevin was here, he's gone now. Kevin is part of the Andy Man's Club.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 in Corby, and it needs a 3rd, because it's a space where men go on a Monday night at 8 o'clock and talk about whatever they need to talk about. And we all know, tragically, there was a young suicide this week, a young man at Kingswood School, which everybody was shocked by. Nobody knew he had mental health issues going on. But it's really, you know, we know that it is a problem, and we know that men need to talk more. And so these brave men have come together in response. Somebody said, shall we do about him? And I thought, yeah, all right, why not? So Jimmy and John and Bob and Will are the 4 that are here from that group. We've had 2 sessions. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the group.
So yeah, I mean it's a nice group because it's funny because it's a real mix of ages, isn't it? I think we've got this gentleman, if you won't mind me saying, 91, lovely. And we've got someone in their 80s, we've got someone in their 70s, someone in their 60s, someone in their 50s, someone in their 30s. We are still looking for people to kind of get the whole spectrum. The idea is that, obviously, similar to what we've done, or what Paul has done, sorry, with About Her, is do a very similar kind of thing where we get real stories from men. Problem is, men don't like talking as much, unless you get them in certain areas. Yeah. Unless it's about work or football. So trying to do that is always kind of a difficulty. So we're really trying to reach out and get people to tell their own personal stories, and have it very much centred around Corby, just like About Her was, and then try and make something kind of really special about it, because what we were talking about, like there is a bit of a pandemic with men's mental health, and there's a lot going on. So to shed a light more locally, I think is definitely going to be worth doing. So.
Yeah. And before we do, there's a couple of monologues. John, would you mind standing up and just share what does it mean to you to be part of this project? Terrified. Terrified. The thing is, because you're sitting facing this way, nobody will hear you, so come and be brave, because I'll bet you John is going to be performing before we know it. We know that twisting the arm thing, don't we?
Yes.
So, come up here and just
Just get used to it.
So, right, John. So, right, why do we know each other?
Well, a lady sat next to me, asked me the same question,
Well, it's back to Women in Steel.
and she says, how do you know you? I said, oh, we just went by. We go back on one, which we do.
We do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you done for the Corby Women's Theatre Group in the past?
Oh, no. I've done a bit for me.
A bit of filming. Who filmed Women of Steel?
Well, I did.
That's it. So, and it's been really interesting, John. So you're 91, yeah? You're 91. There you go. There you go. We talked the other day about fathers, didn't we?
Yes.
And can I ask you, are you a father?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And are you still being actively a parent?
I am, but in a different way. My son, who lives with me, is 58 this year, I think, and he still lives with me. And yes, I'm still a father to him. It's good morning, son. Good morning, Dad. None of these Christian men. It's Mum and Dad, or Dad and son.
Yeah.
Okay? So yes, I am a father.
Great. Well, and I'm I'm really glad to have you on the project. So Jimmy, come on up. Jimmy, come on Jimmy. Jimmy was our sound guy.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think you were. So your line of work, tell us a bit about the creative side of what you do.
didn't expect this.
Inquisition.
All right, so sound and light, the way it can change our state, and creating videos and playing about with sounds. And
Which will be useful
Yeah,
for the project.
yeah, and it's fascinating about dreams analysis, because that can often be, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything to do with, I guess, with the mind as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and are you enjoying being part of the group with the men?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been, I guess, yeah. There's a lot of rich stories, and yeah, there's lots of layers to them.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it?
Which you found tonight as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
because it's the first time I have it. So.
Right, well thank you, you two. And now Will and Bob, up you get Bob, are going to read the first two about him monologues. Bob's written his, so he can start with his one, and then we'll do the one that I wrote based on an interview with a relative who's a Corby lad.
It was pure chance that I've ended up living in Corby. I've been working as a maths teacher at Kapsabet Secondary School in Kenya, just under 200 miles from the capital, Nairobi. After 5 very happy years there, it was decision time. Either my wife and I stayed there indefinitely, with the admittedly slim chance of a political unrest and being on the plane back at a moment's notice, or returning to the UK. We decided on the latter. We both had a passion for rock climbing and walking. In fact, anything to do with the great outdoors. A job located near where we could continue our pursuits is going to be a major factor in where I look for a job. I laid out a map of England, took a pair of compasses, opened them to a radius equivalent to 100 miles, put the point of the compass in Buxton, which I consider to be the centre of the Peak District, drew a circle and looked for any job within that circle. I had an interview in Sheffield, but I was unsuccessful. Then a job in Corby turned up, at Beanfield School. Went for the interview, I was successful, and there was the opportunity of housing, council housing. That was 50 years ago. Beanfield School has long been razed to the ground, and I've long retired from teaching. And my 2 daughters have long flown the nest as well. But here I am, with my wife, still in Corby, so it can't be too bad a place.
Nobody's ever heard that first performance. Kenya.
Well done.
The links with Kenya.
Yeah.
Teachers come into the town. So, I mean, it's just brilliant. That's like looking at a negative. You know, like that black and white thing. It's like, anyway, over to you, Will.
My dad. It's a cough through the kitchen ceiling. Shift work, you see. Not compatible with my school schedules, and his weekends were dominated by sport. I remember one night when he had miraculously got the house to himself. I was upstairs in bed early to leave him to watch the big game. I thought, if I make a sound as if I'd fallen out of bed, he'll come up and see. Maybe bring me downstairs too. Somehow I actually fell out of bed and landed on my eyebrow. Really hurt. But I got my way, and my dad had to watch the treble with a 6-year-old on his knee. It always felt a bit spicy when the game was on. Thank goodness he had a knack for picking the winning team, whatever the sport, and he sport hopped a lot. From Formula One to American baseball, somehow his team always won. Except for that one time when I was watching and United lost. That was all my fault. I was the jinx, the curse. Maybe that's where it started. The broken relationship. He left when I was 8. It was 2 years knuckling down with my mum. Just us. Her teaching me life skills. So much of what I know came from those 2 years. She was funny, vivacious, hardworking, charismatic, and must have had extendable legs because somehow she reached the heights. Tops of cupboards, the attic, things out of reach yet. Knew she was only 5'2". I didn't see much of him when he left. He was never shy about telling me how much he cared. He just didn't show it. I remember writing him a letter once saying, suggesting that he got a girlfriend. He never liked himself. I realised that eventually, in fact, he'd been self-harming for years. Sometimes in secret, but in elaborate ways too. I once asked him about scratches on his arm when I was 8. And he was like, I did those with a knife, he said. I suppose the way he abused his body was essentially a form of long, drawn-out suicide. He was decrepit when he died, at 56. Lungs so full of liquid he could only manage half a cup of tea. He did get a girlfriend eventually, and I watched him become a father, but to her children. On my odd visit, he would take us shopping, me in my shoes with holes, and they would come back with new trainers. I never understood that, and it made my mum really angry. Eventually, after I'd endured another visit to him, he said, if you're going to sit there with a long face on, you needn't bother coming again. So, I didn't. I was 11, just when a boy needs a father. Later, at uni, we struck up a relationship of sorts. I remember sitting in the KFC by the Texaco garage with him. I kept thinking, who does he remind me of? After munching my way through a big bucket, I realised with a shock, it was me. He was my dad. I was his son. This was a family resemblance, and I spent the rest of his life trying to forgive him. I'm a dad myself now. I know my daughter will pull away from me at some point, but I'll be ready. She'll push against me too, but she will never have a day in her life wondering where I am. Where did I learn to be a man? For years I modeled myself on my brother, what I wore, the music I listened to, how I carried myself. He insisted on being himself, and I wanted people to think of me like that. He didn't mind standing out from the crowd, which was a brave choice to make in Galway, but it stood me in good stead. I am very much my own person. Then there was Mum's soulmate Bob, her first and last love, a solid, dependable man, and I learned a lot from Bob. And he seemed to really like me. He couldn't understand what my own dad didn't. He gave me a line to live by. Make sure you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I have done my best. And it leaves room for mistakes and flaws and humanness. My own dad never moved past the worst of himself. Well, I have, and will continue to do so for her, my child, and for Ilan, the love of my life. People sometimes ask whether being a dad makes you more of a man. I remember feeling proud that it all worked. I felt the biological imperative to reproduce. But being a dad has given me purpose. I don't need to look for meaning when I'm knee-deep in nappies and sleepless nights and those moments of pure joy I have with my daughter. I filmed her birth, watched the miraculous moment when she stopped crying as soon as she was placed on her mum's chest. It made life make sense. And later, watching my baby lying in this big Pyrex dish thing, wrapped in a blanket. So that's you then, isn't it? And yeah, life's never been the same since. When she was in the womb, she'd give a strong kick and my hand would still her. It feels like that now when I get to sleep, and I know that this is what I'm meant to be doing. So.
Okay, so that is a suggestion. I am not going to do any more about choosing the themes, but I do think that they need to talk about fatherhood, which is why those 3 questions. I asked the first interviewee, tell me about your dad, which is what the first section was. Tell me how you learned to be a man and how you learned to be a father. And with so few male role models around, that's something that needs to be looked at. And then, does being a father make you more of a man? So those 3 questions were put to the group the other day, and we had fascinating conversations. So I think we've got our first questions. But if anybody wants to be involved in the project, you know where we all are. If you don't, you know, yes, Jess.
What happens if they're not fathers?
Oh, they can be as well. I mean, then they would talk about not being fathers as well. Because we have had that discussion, and that did come up at the group, that it isn't an option for everybody. And we've also, in the women's thing, you were adopted, weren't you? As well. And the thing about difficulties if, you know, you've got a different slant on parenting altogether. So I think what will happen is we'll bring out whatever comes through. But yeah. So, any other comments before we close for the evening? Yeah, Mike?
There's something like, you know, the women are talking about, you know, you didn't have a man and you've not, and you get the kids. The kids must feel, where's my dad? That's a big issue for me, you know, like, as you're saying when you're a boy or you're a girl and you've got a mum and a dad, because you know that's your birth parents. And then when you say, when you were saying that you didn't want a man in that, but what about the kids growing up thinking, where's my dad? And is that putting men in a position as well, not feeling valued in life? Do you know there's something about that as well?
Can I ask that?
Knowing the person that I was playing, and knowing the children, because they're now not children and obviously grown up and everything, I do know the people. I think that the strong matriarchal thread carried on through, and I think having a grandparent as well as mum living together made sure that they were strong in themselves, and there were still male friends, just not the father or the flings or whatever that were going on at the time.
But I'm just saying, as a child, and it's like talking about men going through that, and maybe they're not allowed to see the children, so, and again, it must affect them.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
you're looking for
absolutely.
your dad
I
and your
went
mum,
with
so that's a big issue
children
for
in the
men.
primary school all the
Yeah.
time.
You know,
with
like,
mum
the mates that you're not
desperate,
seeing
they
your
don't
dads.
get a choice.
Just
how they
Myra first and then Will.
So I work within an environment where I help men that are separated from their children to still be a dad. As women, we can be amazing single parents, and we can actually instill that thought process. You know, we can do it on our own. We don't need a man. But that message, which we are passing down to our boys, does have an impact because they do need to understand, they do need that person to maybe take them football, learn how to shave, do all the things that, so I agree with you that regardless of what,
feelings too, don't they?
yeah, and they can provide for a child, they can cook, they can clean, they can do all the things. The only thing that a male can't do is breastfeed. And I think that is the message that a lot of women forget, that a male is, but then it depends on the aggression, isn't it? If you've got a violent,
I mean, it's just
that's
different.
yeah, that
But
is
physically
huge.
for a man as well, I think, you know, that could cause a lot of mental health
Yes, yeah,
if they're not feeling a part of their children.
yeah.
Well, hopefully by kind of just opening up the conversation, because it's I've done it in pubs now 4 times. Just said, what are you doing this? Well, I'm doing this play, and they really want to talk.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's been a really interesting. You know, instead of football at the weekend, it's like, well, I'll tell you what I think. You know, I've got.
Paul, there is another side to that as well. It's also about looking at our parents, isn't it, and seeing, are we an authoritative type? Are we a type of parent that allows a child to be free and do as they wish and make their own decisions, or are we the assertive parent, isn't it? And I think that has a huge impact on...
And then you've got different cultures as
Yes.
well, because they parent a lot
Yeah.
differently
Yeah.
and things like that.
Going back to
Oh, sorry, I missed Will.
Yes, going back to both points, I think the idea that we want to kind of express with about him is that we kind of want to get that full 3D model. We don't want to just like obviously get it from one angle, so we do want the different cultures and we do one from the father side as well as the child side or what have you, because there's obviously nothing is black and white. So yeah, I mean, and not every dad is like the dad in this thing. Some parents, some fathers are incredible. Do you know what I mean? So we want to shine a light as well as really respect the.
Because there might be some dads in your group that don't see their children through their own choice, and they have to be respected.
Yeah, well,
don't they?
in that window we've got all things. So it's going to go River, Di, and then Mary.
Oh, sorry, this is very much in response directly to the point that you just raised. But does it matter if a woman chooses that, to be a single mum? Because she could choose a man who is a liar and an abuser and hides that fact really well to begin with. So I think everyone would agree, we all get screwed up by our parents, no matter how good they try to be. We all get screwed up somewhat by our parents, the values that they do or don't hold, the way they were raised. Is it that much worse to say I'd rather raise them on my own than to end up with a bloke that could be so damaging and terrible, and you know, it's all a choice.
But as you're saying, it's not just straightforward. Some women can be that abusive partner to the man. I see it. And then the kids, it's the children to think, do they see their father and mother?
So,
Look at the child's point of view.
Mary, we're just going to go to there's a couple of hands first. So Di, and then Mary, and then Sally.
I just wanted to say, having listened to the women, brilliant, and these stories, they resonate. No matter, I've come from Barnsley today, I'm actually a forces kid, so I've lived in all the different places, moved time and time again, been a new person. It's been very moving, thank you. What I'd like to say is the blokes, great delivery, Will, and great stories. I'm sorry, I don't know the gentleman's Bob. I wonder, Paula, what are you going to do when you're done with this? Because there's so much learning. I think the blokes should listen to the women. The women should come and listen to the men. How nice to hear men talk. Thank you. Hooray for that. And as a woman who chooses to live my life without men, it's a very rare insight for me. So, you know, I'm grateful for that as well. But I think there's going to be a lot of learning. And I think when you're done with both projects, there's a third project to put together everything and the learning and go around the country with it, because it resonates everywhere.
I think that the thing about the about her and the about him bit, we did kind of, one of the sessions was the writers group, wasn't it? And that writers group had men and women in it, and it allowed for a bit of that in that session. And we did kind of think it was a bit like, you know, his and hers or Mr. and Mrs. on the telly. I haven't seen either of those things, but people say that they do that, you know. Oh yeah, she really likes roses, you know.
Yeah.
That thing, and women have said that. I'd be really interested to know what men think, and the other way around. So I don't know if any of the men here heard stuff tonight that was a bit, oh, I didn't know that was, because it did get, I hadn't realised actually until you got to the pre-production scene, and you were on, you know, all the kind of winning stuff was coming out, and I thought, oh Christ, this isn't a women-only audience, is it? You know, not that there was anything wrong with that, but it was revealing. It does get Anyway, so I've jumped my turn now. After Di, it was Mary. Sorry, Mary.
Yeah, I just want to say to Will, thank you for giving us so much emotion and insight into your life. And it really is very powerful, and it must be quite painful to say as well. And for Bob, I love that you stayed in Corby. Corby's my home, always has been. And it's really exciting to hear men say this is why they came here, and this is why they stay. I was talking to John earlier, and then we've got Gary now. They're all round about us, and we don't listen, we don't hear. And as for shaving, I think that you do very good shaving class on the balloon, and certainly you did that at Lodge Park.
All the secrets are coming out now.
There's lots of, well, she did a great makeup class as well, but she taught the boys how to shave a balloon, which was hilarious. But no, it's really interesting, and it's just thank you, because that was very powerful from you. And the women's group, I have heard about her before, and a lot of the stories I've heard before, and it's really nice to see different people interpret them, so thank you all for that.
Not Maureen and then
See the things designed at the back? Could we get that made like smaller, like a flag size, and maybe get some guys with step ladders to put them up on the lamppost?
That lady wins tonight.
You bet when you bottle of wine.
Oh dear, when we were trying to get the flags to do this, I put on Facebook, has anybody got any flags? And you said, go and rip them down off the lamppost.
That was in WhatsApp.
Oh, was it in WhatsApp?
I didn't publicly say that. She says in WhatsApp, does anyone know we could get an England or a Union Jack, these flags? And I went, we'll take them off the lamppost.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw it.
Somebody came to the rehearsal last night with a whole bag of Union Jack bunting in response to that thing, and she was completely out of breath. Did you see it?
Yeah.
She said, you can keep this. So I've got loads of Union Jack bunting now. Right, so it was Sammy then mine. Sorry.
It kind of ties in with what Mary's just said. For lots and lots of years now, I've worked in schools, and I work with the children, so I hear the children's stories and how they are affected, and I support them through, because parents make choices and the children don't have a choice in it. Most of the 99% of the time they don't have a say. So it's how they then need to manage it themselves, and how they deal with the fact that this is happening. And most of the time, I would say, from my experience, and I can only go on my experience, separating parents is always the thing that gets them more than never really knowing their parents. I have to say.
What you don't know, you don't know.
No, and there's no life experience of it being in a certain way, and then that your whole world changes.
Yeah.
If you haven't had that life experience, then the emotional impact is less, or seems to be from my experience, than somebody who has lived with both parents and perhaps been in very damaging environments sometimes with the parents, not always, but just the sheer breakdown of the relationship has a massive impact on children, and it's at that point, and whether they see both parents or not, that bit is secondary to the fact that they've had a breakup. So, just say I do get
for the
children's
young
stories
people,
every day.
but I think there's a lots of issues, and I've seen it with a lot of men as well. That's why they've got depression, because they've always, and that's not been like they'll say, oh, they always take the women's point of view, and they don't take the men. So things like this, we're asking the men to say how they feel, is really good for us. I think for women, it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
You know, and nobody's life's perfect.
No,
Nobody's life's
absolutely.
perfect.
And I will say that we do have dads who have the children as well, and they don't have their mum in their lives as well, and that's current in our school as well. So,
Myra, over to you.
It would be great if we actually had a couple of men within the male version of this that have actually hit their wives in the past, so that we as women can understand what makes a man think they've got the right to put their fist, you know, in someone's face, or all the other silent manipulation that, you know, the micro abuse when a man can make a woman feel like they're completely worthless, you know, that dinner's not cooked on time, you know, but I don't think that anyone will come forward and actually admit that.
I don't know whether it's public, they certainly do on Facebook, and while I take your point, I think that a lifetime of men justifying violence against women anyway doesn't necessarily warrant putting it on a stage.
No, because then you would have to put the opposite on the other side.
It's not both sides, and it's women.
Yeah, but it's just being able to understand what was it.
So you don't think
within
women are
Oh, I know for that women are
See, it's both sides, and it's great we can hear both sides of the story.
But should we be able to understand violence and then condone it? Well, it's okay for him because he said that she really upset him that day. You can't like, I'm not sure I even want to understand why they do it.
Right, well, domestic violence, when I actually asked the men about the topics, the original idea was I said, look, these are the 12 questions asked the women, shall we just do the opposite for the men? And after some discussion, it was no. We want to find what men want to talk about because we're not the same, but relationships is definitely in there. And we've had some sharing so far, and it's, you know, I think on the first session, one of them said, really what we need to talk about is beauty, love and passion. And it was the things that drive you, whatever those things are. And we talked about loss, and also we talked about breakups last time. Because like in this, I was just thinking, I was looking at you, you and Indu and Gaida in the play, when they were all talking about the different sorts of relationships, and you two both said, well, yeah, I've been married for blah, blah, and we had an arranged marriage, and, you know, we represented a very broad range of relationships, and it was random. I didn't choose those women based on that. There was a randomness, and it was the same when we asked the question at the men's group, are there any of you that have got a typical nuclear family? And there were a couple that were in the marriage that they'd always been in and that have children and grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. But there were also all of those other differences. So I think it will come out quite naturally, actually. River.
Sorry, I just want to come back. I'll tell you what I think would be very interesting on a very similar subject is how men these days view their father's opinions of domestic violence, because And I think it was said specifically in one of our paragraphs, well, it seemed like it was all right to beat your wife back then, and we know that there were instances where, like you said, there were certain things where, well, you can understand why he did that. I think it would be very interesting to see what sons think of witnessing that behaviour, how they feel about their mothers, whether they think their fathers are in the right or whether they want to kill their fathers for what they did to their mothers. I think that could be an interesting perspective.
And insight to how it's shaped them as adults as well.
And how it's changed society.
No, that's a brilliant point. That's really good.
Okay, so domestic violence needs to be in there, looking at it all the way round, because when we had I was chair of the Domestic Abuse Forum for years, and when it was, we have to look at the fact that it happens in same-sex relationships, and it happens the other way around. What happened then was that there was no understanding that in order to provide services for men who were on the receiving end, you'd have to do a different leaflet. You can't do a generic thing because it's a different thing. It's different if it's same-sex as well. So it'll be in there because it can't not be. I just want to clarify one thing. Can you put your hands up if you think Will was telling his own story?
No, because I heard you when you said it.
you said you would.
Yeah.
I already know.
It sounds so.
Up you get.
It's so
It makes it feel like it.
This is an actor, ladies and gentlemen. He was an actor. It's weird because I know whose story it is, and I did the interview and wrote the bloody thing, but he makes it sound like it's his.
I already knew.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That's the embarrassment of whose story it is.
Yeah, well that's it, because how does it feel to be
Or whatever that emotion is, not
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Well, we experienced that in our wellbeing group on Thursday when we had to do role play.
That's why I made you do that. Agris, can I just take us to something else now? Agris was at school with me for every day of our secondary school and also bits of the primary school as well. One of the original Latvians in Corby, and so I asked him to come along tonight because he's released some plays. But can I ask you how the Latvian thing came over?
Well, it was almost truthful. There were bits of it that, for instance, there was a talk about a female choir. There was never a female choir in Corby. It was just a male choir. And similarly, there were small little things, but they're irrelevant really. It wasn't a Sunday school, it was a Saturday school. I hated going to. But yes, it's a very, very truthful account, but very reticent too. A typical Latvian doesn't have an emotive. So.
Sorry, typical Latvian what?
Doesn't have an emotive soul. No, sorry.
Doesn't have an emotive soul.
Yeah. Well, has an emotive soul but can't express it.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Evita, could you just explain why you took us the other week? We've done research for these characters as well.
You would probably better.
No.
There is a place, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes from Corby, where, and again, probably Agris couldn't have more, otherwise I'll say wrong details. Many months ago, when first Latvians came, they bought quite a few lands around Corby, around England, and we still have this place, and still Latvians going there and having the choirs, children dance. We still have a concert. Well,
just what is it called?
In Latvian we call it Straumēni. Yeah, that's Latvian.
No, the place where Mana, something like
Yes,
that.
Catford
Mana.
Catford
Mana.
Yeah.
It is a lovely place, and you know, I have two girls. They're both here, and they see probably themselves as English because they're born here. But it's nice to go back to that place. For myself, they probably, when they go to Latvia, for them it's just a holiday. England is their house, it's their country, you know, and Latvian is just nice. For me, it's different. I'm kind of torn in between two. I've been for 20 years living in England, and England, it is, I love England, you know, but also I have that home feeling. So,
It's really lovely that Evita's two daughters hadn't heard her mum. Their mum, they didn't know she was doing this. So they're here tonight and they heard that for the first time. And they were saying, you said something about being proud of her, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to mention Kasia here with Maza, and Maza who can't do things. Yes.
Maza Puzzler.
So Maria is one of the long-standing members of the Polish community who speaks perfect English. So she was acting. She doesn't talk like that.
Did you get that or not?
Yeah, I thought you had a stage fright.
Yeah, and the woman who she was playing is coming to Corby next Wednesday. And you talked about, in your story, you talked about wanting to be an actress. Remember that she went to Warsaw and with that you know, brief encounter moment on the station, etc. Well, she did, and she has ended up, she was in our plays for a start, and then she runs choirs in Spain, where she moved to. And she's coming to Corby because she's also been writing novels. So her first novel that she wrote in Corby about being a Polish woman in Corby has been translated into English. And she's meeting people at Costa Coffee next week to launch the book.
Oh,
so I mean, how amazing.
We'll have to go and see that then.
Yeah, it is really quite. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah.
So can I just say I can't call it us? Thank you.
Okay. And yeah, we hope to see you at our next thing. Corby Women's Theatre Group has got a Facebook page. So, and Shout has got a website and we've got a little bit on that. But keep in touch, you know where to find us.
Thank you.
Thank you.